Hey, what's up guys? Today I wanted to switch it up a little and go over a few tips for new software developers or programmers. I've been getting all kinds of questions from people who are just starting out. So this video is an attempt to address some of those questions. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so number one on the list is to define your goal. Do you want to make a career out of this? Is this just going to be a hobby? It's really important to kind of go through this and define this as you're learning, because what you might find fun doesn't always translate into a workplace atmosphere. In the past, I've had interests that I thought would translate to a career, but it turns out that the day-to-day 9-to-5 grind, doing it every day, just took all the fun out of it. So it's just really important that you be aware of that. Another thing that's important when you're defining these goals is to find out what kinds of things that you like to build. Do you like to work on the front end and the UI, doing animations and that kind of thing? Or do you like to do back-end development, working with data, databases? All this information is valuable in giving you a path or a direction to follow. Alright, number two, it's okay not to understand everything. When you're starting out, just know that there's going to be things that don't make sense or that you don't understand, and that's fine. The important thing is to not be intimidated by all these little things and just keep working through the problems. The more you work through things, the more it'll make sense and the more you'll understand. Also, don't feel bad if you go into an interview after you've been working at this for a while, you get to the technical part of the interview and you just bomb. So many people have done this, I've done this, even the most experienced programmers have went into technical job interviews and just bombed because they didn't know the questions being asked. I would say that one of the most flawed things about this career choice is the interview process, so don't sweat it. Number three, be patient. It's easy to get really frustrated when you're trying to solve a problem. Try and keep calm and work through the problem as best as you can. If you do hit a wall, I know it can be hard sometimes, but sometimes it's best to just get up and go for a walk or do something else for a little while. Get your mind off of the problem. Eventually, when you do come back to the problem, you feel fresh. You may be able to look at the problem from a different way and solve it quicker. Just don't spend all your energy on getting frustrated and worked up over one problem. Alright, number four, don't overwork yourself. There's a general view in this industry from a lot of people who think that you have to eat, sleep, and breathe code, which is just completely untrue. So while learning new things and building things is super important, it shouldn't become your whole life. After so many hours a day, your brain is going to tap out and the returns from learning or building things is going to diminish, so is the quality of your work. Try and take some time each day to practice and learn, but if you miss a day or if you can only put in 20 minutes or a half an hour or whatever the case, don't beat yourself up over it. Number five, it's okay to ask questions. Don't feel bad if you have to ask someone else a question. We all get stuck, nobody knows everything. It doesn't make you a bad programmer, so don't feel bad to ask for clarification on something that you just don't understand. I will say it is important that before you go asking anyone questions that you try and solve the problem yourself. Not only does it help you understand the problem better, but other people's time is valuable too. So showing them that, hey, I've tried to do this, this, and this, but I can't get this problem. That shows them that you've put in the time trying to solve this problem, and it makes it easier to help someone knowing that. If you just go up to someone and say, hey, I can't figure this out, can you do this for me? The response probably isn't going to be what you're looking for. Number six, identify your learning style. So this is a career or hobby where you're constantly going to be learning. So it's really important that you understand what way works best for you. The things that I use in my career every day now are vastly different than the things I learned in school, and in most cases they're not even the same at all. Some people like watching video tutorials, some people like reading written tutorials or official documentation, and some people just like digging into the codes, getting their hands dirty, breaking things, building things. That's definitely a way that you can learn. Just do what way works best for you and know that there are a lot of different mediums to learn how to code. On that note, another important thing to learn is how to read official documentation. It's really important when learning with new programming languages or libraries and frameworks that you read the official docs to know exactly what things do, what's advised, what's not advised. You don't want to spend hours or days or weeks building out features, then go back in the documentation and see that this thing's already built or it's advised against using it or whatever the case may be. So it's always really important to know and understand how the documentation is written. Start small projects. Now this is something that I was really guilty of when I first started programming. You get these big lofty goals, these apps that you want to make that sound amazing, but then when you start planning things out or working on things, you realize how much work this is going to be. So you start working away and it feels like you're not getting anything done because there's just so much work to do. There's no real gratification or reward out of it, and I think that's really important when you first start programming. So smaller projects and milestones keep you interested and you have a sense of accomplishment when you complete something. You're also going to learn a lot of new skills and a lot of new functionality. And you can also use all these little projects to put into a portfolio and it might help you land a job. So final point, find a community or a group. It's always helpful to find a group where you can talk about programming. It's a great place to learn, and you don't always have to ask questions about problems that you're stuck on. It's really helpful just to chat with people who share the same interests as you. It's also really gratifying to answer other people's questions to problems that maybe you've solved before. If you have access to a mentor or somebody that can help you out, if they're willing to give up their time to help you, that can be very helpful when you're first starting out. Just make sure that you're comfortable with them and you're confident that they know what they're talking about and that they're not going to give you any bad advice or bad habits. Alright guys, I hope you found this useful and I was able to answer some of your questions. I know that there are a lot of other questions like what kind of programming languages to use, what kind of equipment, this and that. I feel like those kinds of questions are highly opinionated and they can go one way or the other. They're not necessarily right, they're not necessarily wrong, so I don't really want to share my view on that. That's something that you can figure out as you go along. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you want to see more of this type of content, please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.